I was talking to their bass player because my girlfriend at the time worked at Subway. And she knew that I needed to find a band, and she was just asking random people that came in that looked like they were in the genre of music, the skinny jeans and like the band shirts. She was just asking.
Word of
like,
mouth, man.
Straight up. Like it was
Mhm.
that simple how I met Calvin. And Calvin ended up becoming my best friend. And unfortunately, we lost Calvin right after our band had kind of talked about having like a hiatus that kind of turned into a breakup, and he was actually killed. And that was something that made me kind of go off the face of the planet for a while, and I didn't really want to talk to anybody. And
Welcome to the NuMusick podcast. We got your two regular jackoffs from upstate New York. My name is Patrick.
My name is Kyle. I was in the middle of drinking, you prick.
I like it.
My name is Justin. We have a fabulous guest with us, our friend Justin Haskin. Please say something nice about yourself. I don't know.
Something nice about myself. I don't know.
Nailed it.
Did I do it right? Did I do it correct?
You did it perfectly.
Perfect.
Exactly what I was hoping.
I'm actually going to put my naked lady skull on the floor because I keep looking at it. So
I want to see your naked lady skull. Nice.
Naked.
I don't want to see it anymore. Stop. How are you guys doing today?
We have been fucking chilling. That's a lie. We've been working our asses off lately.
You liar. Starting off our friendship with lies.
Yeah.
This is where
That's
we're going to
how
go.
it happens here. This is what we do in the NuMusick podcast. We just lie.
We're just full of no, we have regular jack-off essential jobs. I work at Starbucks. Kyle works at Walmart. So we are pulling in the overtime as much as we can.
And speaking of, I've saved my store over $6,000 today, actually. So
did you pocket all $6,000?
I fucking wish. Yeah, and then
I'm an essential worker.
What are you doing?
I'm yelling. I was screaming my head off. No, I actually work at Reeves Auto Parts.
Yeah. I just hate wearing a mask because I got asthma, so I got a hard time breathing as it is. So
we got to be wearing gloves. We don't have to wear the masks, but
I fucking wish.
Actually,
we do 1,000 deliveries a day.
Does,
all of them with gloves on. It's fun. It's fun.
Doesn't the virus actually stick onto plastic for a certain amount of time?
That's what a lot of people are saying. It's like you're not really helping. I don't know if it sticks to plastic, but it doesn't seem like if you're not changing your gloves every 5 minutes of a 9-hour day, then it's not really going to help. All the doorknobs you touch, everything. Yeah.
Justin, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come hang out with us. I know you've been writing music for Lost Conduit all day, and did you say that you finished it today? Is that right?
I finished our entire album today, front to back. I started it this morning, finished it. No, I'm kidding. I have been working on this album, I think since June or July. I was hired by the instrumentalist, Drew. It's literally just me and him. The band is just me as a hired vocalist, and he writes all the guitar and skeleton of drums and bass and all the guitar leads and synths and stuff. And he has Connor from Bro Job mix it and make it all sound beautiful. And dude, he's such a good producer. He's become so much. Bro Job. They've become good friends, and he has been Connor has been really fucking cool to me lately. He's working on an EP that I am doing called Haskin, and it's like a rap metal project. And he is
we're gonna get to that.
Oh, are we? We're gonna get to it?
Yes, I'm really excited to talk about that. I'm sure you are as well.
Yes, I'm so excited to talk. It's so fucking weird and different, and it makes me happy because I want to make stuff that isn't like everything else. And Lost Conduit and Desolist, they both have their same, thing that we're trying to accomplish, just try and be an original band. But there's so many bands that just breakdowns and synths and gnarly vocals. That's literally what so many bands are. And this project is completely different. So it's really fun to be able to do something that's not so repetitive. And I'm sure it'll feel repetitive. I'm about to start working on song 5 of the EP, and I know, if I have like 20 or 30 songs, I'll probably start getting that same feel of like, all right, I've done this a lot now. But like,
once you figured out the formula, it's like,
yeah.
okay, just gonna keep doing that.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I do have the good formula for it now, even though I'm only 4 or 5 songs in. It's really, really fucking weird. Do you guys want to hear some?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Let's
Yes.
see if I could pull some.
Now, would this be Haskin, your solo project, or would this be
Yes.
Lost Conduit?
This will be Haskin. I could show you guys some Lost Conduit as well. Hopefully Drew wouldn't mind. But this song, I'm thinking this is going to be the song that I shoot a music video for Haskin. I actually wrote this song back in like October or November, and it was before I realized how much I wanted to do this. It was more just like being bored with just writing, to 3 different bands, and I was just like, I kind of want to try something new, and I just downloaded a very generic rap beat from YouTube, just some free beat that some producer put on there, and I just like tried some stuff out to it, and I was like, this is actually really fun. So I hit up Connor from Bro Job, and I asked him if he'd be down to produce it and if he would be down to make me beats. And I just told him, I was like, I just want to have interesting synths, just kind of like what Desolist and Lost Conduit does, just have lots of interesting mystical sounds. So I was just like, let's just write some beats that just have a lot of interesting synths and just a pretty basic beat, and just make it, more about the interesting sounds. And I will handle all the vocals and the vocal writing and stuff. And he did it so fast. And one thing that was cool is he was getting me stuff before I'd even really paid him for it. So obviously we kind of have a good little friendship that we've acquired from doing Lost Conduit, because he's already been producing my stuff. But Drew from Lost Conduit's the one that's been talking to him about almost all of that. So I haven't done a whole lot of talking to Connor, and we hung out about a year ago, maybe less, when he was on tour in California. But we're not like best friends or anything. And he was like sending me like songs that I could work on, and I hadn't paid him yet. So like he had a pretty good idea of what I want to go for, and I think that he just kind of got excited about doing something different as well, because he just mixes bands that are just breakdown and all the same shit that Lost Conduit and Desolist is even doing. And I just think that he got excited for doing something new. So he got all 5 songs to me pretty much done in the last 2 months. And it happened real quick with all of his writing. And I had a lot of lyrics that I had done from the ending of last year and then the beginning of this year. So I threw it all together pretty quick. But
there is a sample or a snippet on the actual Haskin Facebook page.
And
correct?
and that is actually not a part of the EP. That was what I had told you before, that I just gotten like a free basic beat, and I wasn't gonna use it just because it was just like clearly not my music. It was someone else's little beat, and I didn't want, like, even though like the lyrics and everything that I wrote onto it, all had their own original thing. So I obviously could use those, and so I actually used a lot of those lyrics that are on that little snippet on a different song. So it's turned out pretty cool. That sucks you guys can't hear it, man. I'm bummed. Maybe it has something to do with Cubase, because I played it in Cubase before. Tell me if you guys could hear this. This is the Lost Conduit song I just finished.
Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah.
There it is.
Do you hear that?
Oh my
I think Kyle
God.
just came.
Good. See, why can you hear that and not hear the other thing?
I don't know. I think it has something to do with where all the sounds are distributed, or where all your outputs are set up. Because when you're using Cubase, you have to actually go in and manually set up all your outputs.
I'll open a Haskin song in this then. This ending part was pretty cool. I just
Even just
tracked
dragging and dropping it in, it might work.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I just tracked this part today.
I love it. I love sweep picking over breakdowns. I'm such a sucker for that.
Now let me see if I can pull open some good old Haskertons.
I can only get so hard. Stop. I can only be so erect.
All right, I don't know. Oh, that's not even going to be the right version. I should just do what you're saying. I should just drag and drop it in here. Let me do that. But this one, like I was saying, this is the one that I want to shoot a video for Haskin. So hopefully, once this virus stuff is done, I'll be able to
Fucking
get.
hope it gets done quick.
Yeah, me
not...
too. I know.
Well, the thing is that if we rush this, if we rush wrapping this up, we run the chance of having a second wave. And so that's why I'm telling people, like, people just take it seriously, slow down. All right. Think about your neighbor. Think about what they might be going through. Make sure they've got what they need.
Speaking of my neighbor, it sounds like they're having a fucking mosh pit downstairs.
I thought you were gonna say having sex.
No, not
same.
yet. Not
so
yet.
I'm gonna throw this bitch in here and see if it plays because I want to show some Haskin stuff. I haven't showed it, and I think that it would be a fun time.
Well, people who listen to the show, they know how we feel about both trap metal and nu metal. They know that we are big advocates of the new style of music that's coming around this corner. So we, of course, are stoked to talk about the new stuff.
Yeah, this is weird. So I got it up now. So
weird.
hopefully this will play. You hear it?
Oh my God.
Ooh.
Yo, so I don't know if you knew when you started doing this project that Luke Griffin from Acrania and Brooke from Impending Doom were starting their own rap metal projects like this.
I heard
But
about Luke
honestly,
Griffin's. I haven't listened to it yet.
Your shit's gonna fall in line so well with it that honestly I think that a tour with those two guys would be really interesting.
Cool.
Because this is kind of
cool.
like a breakthrough genre. Like a lot of metal vocalists want to get on this, and seeing actually talented metal vocalists, and I'm not trying to like throw any shade on like Scarlord or Morgue City, the guys that kind of made this idea a thing. But like seeing actual metal vocalists get into it and do it the way a metal vocalist would is really exciting for me as both a metalhead and someone who's only recently gotten into trap metal and emo hip hop.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Thank you.
So,
the funny thing was when I started this, I know this sounds stupid, but I'm so not in the know of the music industry anymore. I when I was young and I was in Before You Fall, it was my obsession. Like I just wanted to listen to every new band, every band that everyone's talking about, and like as there's still a part of me that wants to do that, but like I don't have time. Like if I am listening to music, it's normally an instrumental that I am currently working on. And like anytime I'm driving right down the street or, from one house to my girlfriend's house or whatever, like I legitimately need to be spending all my free time on lyric writing to instrumentals that I'm working on. So I really haven't listened to a whole lot besides like some of my all-time favorites, and some of my all-time favorites are things that came out 10 years ago. I'm one of those kids that like I can't get out of like 2008 and 2009, 2010, as un-emo as that sounds, or as unmetal as that sounds, I should say.
Justin, how old are you?
27.
Okay, I'm 28. Like we came from the same era, like the same age. So like when you think of MySpace,
I'll just
know
leave the
that metal
conversation.
that whole scene.
I'll leave
Were
the
you an emo
conversation
kid
with
or were you a metal kid?
Oh, okay. So I kind of jumped from. I had the privilege of moving from school to school to school so many times, and I put it that way on purpose. I really do think that moving around a lot as a kid was an advantage. To be able to create a new identity for myself. So I did punk rock pretty fucking hardcore in my early teen years. Then I got really into scene emo, and to the point where people were telling me every day I looked like either Andy Biersack or Ollie Sykes because I had that bowl fucking perfectly
me too.
crafted.
that's where a lot of people know me from still, is like Before You Fall days. So a lot of people just envision me as the little emo kid, and parts of me, I mean, like I still totally am, but like I don't have the voluptuous hair for it anymore. I don't.
Oh,
I'm not like,
tell me about it. There's a reason
you
for
know.
the hat, bro.
I
Yeah,
had to
there's a
fucking.
reason why we got hats on.
I had to chop mine off finally. Like I had long black hair for like 15 years, maybe even a little bit longer, and I just got to the point where um I knew that I wanted to, and Desolist was wrapping up our album and like our music videos, and I wanted to do one more music video with long black hair before I cut it off. So I actually grew my natural hair color this underneath my black hair. My roots were like that long, and I just wore a hat like you guys, so no one could even see my roots. And I shot a music video with like temporary dye on the blonde roots, and then probably a week later, I just chopped it all off to my roots. So I just had short blonde hair for the first time in like 15 years. It was a weird trip. A lot of friends were really weirded out, and trust me, I was too. Every time I looked in the mirror, I was like, I don't have long black
Who
hair
dis?
anymore.
Yeah.
Who dis?
And that. Surprisingly, it's already been like 2.5 years since I cut it off. I just saw on Facebook Memories a picture with me with short hair, just like how it is, and it said like 2018. I was like, damn, it's been that long already. It went by quick.
Time
But
goes by.
what I started to say was I'm just so not in the know of what's happening that I didn't know that this was really much of a thing. Like I sent this to my video guy and I told him, I was like, we should shoot a music video for this. And he's like, dude, have you heard of Star-Lord? And I was like, no. And he sent me a video and I was like, damn it. There are people doing it already. I didn't think that. I just figured that if someone was gonna scream, they wouldn't be into metal or into rap enough to want to do both. So I
Yeah.
figured that I'm sure that I thought that there were people that were, SoundClouding it and like not getting super popular from it though. And then my video guy showed me a couple artists that are like popular from doing this. I was like, damn it. I wanted to be like the first,
I
but
wanted to
like,
do this like 3 years ago. I've honestly been on kind of like a super slow roll. I've got like 8 songs that I haven't finished, but
uh-huh.
they're like things that I've been writing for 3 years. So it's like, when am I eventually going to be done with this? But if I had put that music out 3 years ago, I would have been ahead of this curve.
Yeah, it's like the
I
same
know,
thing.
right?
Yeah, it's like the same thing with me. It's just like the one thing that I have a problem with, like vocally, I can do samples, like stupid samples that make you laugh. I can do. It's just the guitar wise, I can't process that. That's the only thing that's the only huge curve that I have for music.
That you don't like it or you do.
I just I don't know how to do it. That's the only thing I have a problem with is the
Want to know how
guitar wise.
people start doing it? You try.
True.
You
I
try
like
it.
this
I'm a
guy.
vocalist and I
I
got a
like this
wall
guy.
full of guitars.
Mm.
But one thing that's pissing me off is I'm trying to download one of these songs so I could throw it into my Cubase to show you guys another Haskin song, but it's not letting me download it from my own Dropbox for some reason. And I know Dropbox really well, so it's not like I'm unfamiliar on what's going on. Like right where the download button is, it's not letting me. So I don't think this is an actual version of the final song like it is now, but I'll show you it anyways. I'm
Fuck it.
going for it. I'm going for it. That's all you get.
You son of a bitch.
That's all you get.
You son of a bitch.
What do you think?
I
I think
fucking loved that. That's
I
why
think
I
there
said
is a
that.
God. I think there
Cool.
is a God.
I'm really happy with it. I'll feel more comfortable with showing you guys stuff that like is soloed out because I don't want to just like give away all the songs, but I could show you like some soloed out vocals on some of the songs so I don't feel like I'm giving away too much. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with this. Like unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm having like more fun than doing metal songs. Like I'm having so much fun doing it that I'm like, man, I may have found something that I want to keep doing and like really dive into. So right now, I've been spending basically, oh my God, my monitor's on. That was scary. Lord. It opened up Cubase, and my voice was coming out of my own speakers. I was like, ah! Dear Lord, scared me. So, what song is this?
I've never been so scared by my own voice before.
Could you hear all the different versions of my voice when that happened?
I heard it really like echoing coming through, but that was
scared
it.
the fuck out of me, bro.
Holy shit! All right, so let's take this all the way back to the beginning. Tell me how you got into music. I hope someone got that was a Digimon reference. Tell me how you started getting into music, the early days, like your origin story of how you got into music.
It basically started with like bands like Green Day and like even like Metallica, and then I slowly started finding like I moved to a place called Colfax. I grew up there, but I moved back there, and I lived right next to a girl that was into all these scene bands, and I was like starting to get there, but I hadn't really found out about that whole scene by myself. I was more like Atreyu, which is like kind of the in between, like they're starting to get like heavy and a little emo and stuff. But I moved next to my friend Lisa, and she started showing me bands like Escape the Fate. And then I started finding out bands like Bless the Fall and like The Word Alive, and then like We Came as Romans, and all of that whole genre. And I fell in love with it. So I started doing YouTube covers, and a couple of them got some momentum and got views, and I I basically was just screaming stuff in my room like along to some of my favorite songs, and I realized that I could kind of make these sounds, kind of not. I feel like I wanted to learn it, so I started putting videos of me doing like Escape the Fate covers on YouTube, and one of them specifically did really well. This War Is Ours, and its attention that it got made me like. There's nothing better than feeling like you're good at something and then like getting everyone's acceptance of it and then realizing like fuck, that's what I want to do. So I was very very new to it, and I had a lot of people telling me that I could probably get pretty good at it, and I had a lot of comments of people that were supportive. And back then I was like 16, 17 years old, and you get any kind of mentality that you're doing something that you want to do that people think is cool, and people are telling you that you're good at it, you're stuck already. Like there's nothing you could really do to get out of it. So I started really enjoying the attention that I was getting from that, and I instantly became, instead of like a normal person, I just started being that guy that it took over my life. Like people, I mean, I know you can't really see my walls, but there's still a million posters on it. When people are in love with something, they just want to surround themselves with it. And so I just became so obsessed. Started the skinny jeans. I started like wearing eyeliner and shit in high school, and like became the ultra scene kid. And I really wanted to start a band, and I hadn't done that before. Just had the attention from my covers, and started some high school bands with people where you just had like 5 band practices, and that was the band. Like you didn't do anything more. And I moved back down to Auburn. When my parents divorced, they were moving all over the place, so I moved back to Auburn, and I met Calvin Kelly, who is the drummer and the clean vocalist of Before You Fall. And me and him became best friends. We were pretty much connected at the hip from the second we ever even just looked at each other. I was trying out for a band that he was in, and they had played like starter shows. They played like a talent show for like their high school and stuff. And I was already graduated, and they were a couple years younger than me, and I had never been in a band. And there are these kids that a couple years younger than me that were experiencing it the real way. Like they were starting to get together and play shows, and I was like, I haven't done this yet. Give me my shot, man. Like, what do I need to do to be the vocalist? And so I was talking to their bass player because my girlfriend at the time worked at Subway, and she knew that I needed to find a band, and she was just asking random people that came in that looked like they were in the genre of music, the skinny jeans and like the band shirts. She was just asking.
Word of
like,
mouth, man.
Straight up. Like it was that simple how I met Calvin. And Calvin ended up becoming my best friend. And she had talked to his bass player that had come in, and he was the most normal looking guy. So it's crazy that she even asked him. And he said that he's got a band looking for a vocalist. So I was like, all right, I fucking got this shit. I was like 16 years old, 17, 18, whatever I was. I think I just graduated high school. So I'd been doing the YouTube thing for a couple years. And so especially when you're young, you could be so cocky, so young. I had no show experience, and I felt like a rock star already. I was like, I'm gonna get the spot. There's no way I'm not gonna get it, and I was right. I had one band practice with them, and I was instantly their vocalist, and I wanted to do it so bad that I don't know if it was a good thing, but I kind of took charge of the band. I was like, I'm ready to get us shows, and I started booking us actual local shows instead of like their talent show stuff that they were playing. So I think that I was really good for them, and they were really good for me at the time because they hadn't gone to start doing their own shows outside of high school stuff, and I hadn't had a band. So like we all kind of meshed together real well besides, teenage arguments. But Calvin was just my best friend right off the bat. And we realized that the other guys didn't want it as much as we did. So we left and we started Before You Fall with just him and I. So that band only played a couple shows. We never released music. So it's still kind of like a starter band. But me and Calvin left and started Before You Fall. And we got a pretty good fan base, and it took over my life even more. I started like feeling like, all right, this is what I wanted to do, and I was right. Like these last 2, 3, 4 years of starting to learn how to do vocals and putting myself out there on YouTube, like this was worth it. Like I'm starting to play shows, and like I'm starting to understand how the people that inspired me to do this, what their life is like now, like playing the shows and talking to the fans after. And I really started to take a liking for everything that was happening. And unfortunately, we lost Calvin right after our band had kind of talked about having like a hiatus that kind of turned into a breakup. And he was actually killed. And that was something that made me kind of go off the face of the planet for a while. And I didn't really want to talk to anybody. And I'd started talking to the guys in Desolist right before Calvin had died. And we had, talked about doing this band, and we had started writing some music. And Calvin passed away, and that just put me, 2 steps back. And I just didn't really know where to go from there. And eventually put my big boy pants back on, and I knew that Calvin would want me to continue what we had started. We had been doing Before You Fall for like 5 years, and that starter band even before that. So we were best friends for half a decade, and did everything together, wrote all the music together. And I couldn't just be sad forever, and I needed to start getting myself back out there. So Desolist became my main drive, and we just worked as hard as we could on writing a good album. And we even wrote a song called Calvin Kelly, and that song is all about my friendship with him, and the memories
That was
that
actually my next question.
Mm-hmm. Which?
Yeah, it was if you had a song that was kind of like for him, you
Yep.
answered that perfectly.
Yeah, it's titled his name, first and last name. We had kind of gone around about calling it just Calvin, but then I was like, no, I think that we should throw his last name in there. So we made a song about him, and I love it. And now Haskin is a thing, and I have this 5-song EP that I'm hoping to drop in the summer, and there's a song on there about him as well. The Calvin song for Desolist, I love it, but it wasn't as detailed as I wanted it to be. I had written that when it was still very fresh, and I was still kind of going through it. That was kind of like my therapy to try and help myself through it. And I didn't want to talk about it yet. And so I was just like, I wasn't beating around the bush about what had happened, but it's very evident that he was murdered, and
Yeah,
I didn't.
you were, but you weren't. Is
Yeah,
basically what it
yeah,
was.
exactly. We had pretty much told the world that he had died, and I didn't really want to accept the reality that he was killed by some people. Like I didn't want to accept that he disappeared by anything really. Like I didn't want to accept that he killed himself like some people speculate, or he was killed by people, or if it was just a freak accident. But for anyone that doesn't know, he was hit by a train at 3 a.m, and he was coming home from a concert that I didn't go to. It was in our hometown, and our hometown never has like legit concerts that we like to go to. It was like the first time he had ever gone out, and he walked there from my house and walked home. and the venue, I think, closed at like midnight or 1 or something. It was a bar, and he was right down the street, and he was hit at like 3:30 in the morning. And we had talked to the guy that drove the train, and everything that had happened, got cops involved, and guy that drove the train said that he was in the fetal position, unresponsive in the middle of the tracks. And we did as much as we could to investigate, without, the cops' help. The cops were just honestly being douchebags about it, and we had a big problem with law enforcement because they didn't want to do their job. If they could do anything to make it easier on them, they wanted to do that. So they just wanted to label it a suicide as much as possible. And he was jumped, and someone drug him and laid him in the tracks to be hit, so no one would be able to think that they didn't do it. But I had just taken him to the bank just hours prior to this concert, and he cashed an entire check, and he didn't have any of the cash anymore. And we were told by people that were there that he was jumped, and it just became a big mess. And we had people, like anonymous people that didn't want to be involved with a case or law enforcement, calling me anonymously, telling me that we knew that he was jumped. And so it became this big thing where I didn't want to talk about it. I was okay with talking about that he's gone. I was okay with communicating with any of his friends or family, and being close to anyone there that needed it, and telling them what I needed to tell them at the time. But like, as the 4 or 5 years have gone on, it'll be 5 years in October this year. It's very evident that he didn't kill himself. He was, he had a weird night, man, and it's frustrating because it wasn't something like, people over exaggerate and be like, that was my best friend, and it was someone that you saw once a week, or whatever. And not saying that you can't be best friends, seeing each other once a week. That's totally normal. But like, Calvin and I, we stuck together. It wasn't anything, there's nothing else to say about it. Like, if you saw me, you saw him too, and if you saw him, you saw me. We went everywhere together. We went to every party, we went to every concert, we drove down the street to get food. We did everything together. We were basically like family members. It wasn't like you know someone dies and you want to be weird with attention and be like, that was my best friend, and you guys not be as close as you're making it out to be. So I had a really hard time with it for a long time, and I didn't want to, tell the world that he was killed. I wanted to tell the world that he had died, and I didn't know how to go about saying it. So this song, the one for Haskin, seems to be a lot more detailed and makes me a little bit more happy with this version than the Desolist version, because I didn't necessarily get to go into a lot of things that I just said about the case or someone killing him, but I talked more about our friendship and like stories that happened, and things that we had gone through together. So it seems more personal to me this time. I feel like when I wrote it before, I wrote it for me and his family and all of his friends, and I wrote this one for me and him. And like, felt like the other one was more of like I don't want to say like a group song, but that's kind of how I wrote it. I wanted people that were close to him to be able to latch onto that song. And this one, where I think that'll still happen, people latch onto the song. This one is for me. It's for me and him.
So
And
let me ask you, how long has it been since this happened?
in October, it'll be 5 years.
So it seems to me like with this song, especially, you're kind of coming to some sort of closure about what happened.
Yeah, and
Or at least that this song is more about closure than the last one.
yes, I I got a little bit more closure earlier than this song, but this seems like the best way that I can definitely not put it to a close, because I think that I'll always write about him. Like, even in a couple of the other songs, I'll have like a couple lines that are about him. Like, something that I like about this project is there's not anyone else involved to tell me I can or I can't. So not that I ever really get told that I can't. Desolist and Lost Conduit and any other project I've ever been in, I can really do whatever I want. But I don't even have to feel the guilt. If there's something that I think that people may think is weird, I don't have to be like, oh man, well, what's my guitarist gonna think, or what's my drummer gonna think? I don't
No
give a fuck
pressure.
right now. This is
Yeah.
me.
No
And
pressure.
like I am able to talk
Exactly.
about what I want to talk about. So, um, yeah, this song felt like another piece of closure for sure, and I'll continue to write about him and always make my music career and his one, because that's how it was. Like my first band was with him, and my first concert was with him, and up until Desolist, I had never played a concert without him. He was like, there'd be times where a guitar player would be sick and not play that show, where a bass player would be sick and he wouldn't play that show, but Calvin and we never skipped out on a show because the band wouldn't play without their main vocalists, and we somehow made shows work without a guitarist or a bassist or whatever. But me and Calvin had never played without each other, so that first Desolate show I felt pretty weird. I handled it good because we got to play that Calvin song that was written in Desolist. We had never played a show yet, and we got to open our show playing with, that song. Not that we opened with it, but we got to start with playing shows with playing that song. So my first time I ever performed without Calvin, I got to perform a song about him. So it made it feel like I wasn't totally doing it without him, and his family came out to the show and were involved. And I had a little speech that I said about the song before I had played it, and his mom wiggled her way through the crowd and gave me a big picture of Calvin to hold while I performed the song. And his family is very close to me, and I'm very close to them. And they've supported everything that I've tried to do in honor of Calvin, and vice versa. I'm very close with Calvin's family, so I find myself lucky for that.
That's great. No, honestly, I'm kind of proud of the way that you handle all of this, because I can't
Thank
really
you.
say for sure that I would handle things nearly that well.
I
I know I wouldn't.
I I just went away, and I think that was good for me at the time. I didn't even go to concerts. I was dealing with a girl breakup as well, and Before You Fall had just kind of said that we didn't really want to be in a band anymore. I still wanted to continue it, and I think that if Calvin didn't die, I think within a couple months we probably would have been writing music again together. Um, but the main guy that was writing a lot of our music was our producer at the time. So we basically were a self-produced band by our guitar player, and the band was always a big group project, but for the most part, it felt like me, Calvin, and Jesse. And we had guitar players in and out, and different bassists. But Calvin, Jesse, and I seemed like we were a main core of that band. And I love everybody else that was ever involved. Aaron, Jake, Ty. Even our original drummer Connor, who I never have given credit to for being in the band because he pretty much dropped out before he released any music. But I love all those guys. I don't want to make it seem like they weren't involved or anything, but that band always seemed like it was us three. And our producer, he was starting to feel like he didn't want to do especially metal anymore. He writes really good pop songs now, and he's produced the Desolist album, and he's still a really good buddy of mine. We actually had a long conversation on the phone yesterday just about life, but he just didn't want to do it anymore. And I think Calvin, was kind of wanting to follow suit because he had a kid, and he kept going back and forth on whether he wanted to be a touring musician and leave his daughter and not be able to see his daughter as much as stay at home dad would. Not stay at home, but working from
Yeah.
home or whatever you want to say. But yeah, when you're a touring musician, the bigger you get, the less you see your family. And he was a fucking teenage dad. He was like 18, 19, something like that when his daughter was born. So he kept going back and forth on whether he wanted to do the band or not. And when our producer said that he wasn't feeling it anymore, that's two people out of the three, me being the third, that didn't really seem too into it anymore. So I had to say goodbye to that band. And like 6 months later, maybe a little bit longer, was when Calvin had passed away. And we were still hanging out. We were still writing music for fun. Nothing that we were ever releasing. But dude, we just hung out, smoked, and wrote music. That was me and Calvin. That's literally
Yeah.
what we had done from the history of our friendship. When we first started hanging out, he was starting to get into smoking, and I started was, and we started hanging out more and more, and we just started writing music and just having fun. And we were just chillers, man. Like if I wasn't doing this interview right now and Calvin was still here, he'd be on the bed behind me looking at his phone or on his laptop and, playing some kind of game. We just stuck by each other's side, like if I wanted to do something that I would do in my own solo time with no one around, I was comfortable enough with doing it in front of him, even playing different video games. So you're not like, not like maintaining eye contact and constantly keeping a conversation going. We were just okay with being in the same room together and chilling, doing what we wanted to do, and listen to music or write it. And it was 2015 was a really weird year for sure, and will always end up being definitely one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. And I've never lost any like real family, and I don't look forward to that day because I know what it's like to lose someone as close as Calvin. So, I'd never lost anyone like besides like a grandparent or something. I've never really lost anyone in high school or anything that was real close. I had a friend that had committed suicide in high school, but he wasn't like my best friend. So it was hard, but it wasn't like I had any kind of idea what it would really feel like to watch someone disappear, because that's the weirdest part is you always know that when someone dies, they're no longer here. But like the second it actually happens to somebody that it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem like somebody that you spend so much time with could actually be gone. It seems like they're always a phone call away, or you just got to go drive to them to find them. And it was just a weird, confusing clusterfuck in my head where I couldn't hang out with them anymore because I just wanted to call them and I just wanted to get my homie back, So it was weird, but I tried to maintain myself, and I think that it's made me grow up a lot too. I was very immature. Me and his whole friendship was pretty fucking immature, and we both started to grow at the ending of it. He was 2 years younger than me, and we met when we were teens. So our whole awkward phase was pretty much together. We had pretty much experienced the
So
cringy emo.
what's your favorite memory with him then?
We played Warp Tour, and that was really special to me because we were both so new to it. Like we only got to play a day, but we played the Ernie Ball stage because we won the Battle of the Bands tournament that Warp Tour used to do. And
Nice.
and it was fucking cool, man, because everyone that I shared that stage with, they were all friends of mine. We were all good buddies, throughout the whole band experience. But like Calvin and I, we were so unbelievably close that I can't put into words. It was the type of friendship that you finished each other's sentences. And I remember when we won that, just being able to think like we're gonna fucking play Warp Tour, and we started playing music like last year, like we hadn't been in any other bands really. So I think we put out our very first EP. You Looked Better on Facebook, right before we played Warp
That's
Tour.
Beautiful. That sounds like
And
MySpace.
it was pretty much right when Facebook was taking over the MySpace era. And I just remember playing and thinking like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like we just got into playing music like in a show setting, and 9 months into it, maybe a year, we got to play Warp Tour, and we got to play alongside bands that I had looked up to that had inspired me to fucking start. So that was something that was probably made me go off the deep end with an ego being that young. Like I just thought that I was the shit, man. Like I literally just started this new thing in my life, and I'm already winning competitions, and I'm already getting opportunities that not everyone got. And it made me think that I was just gonna blow up. And being a teen, you don't know what's good and what's not when you're the one doing it. You can be the judge of other bands and, say if you like it or you don't, whatever your opinion is. But when it's you, it's very cloudy in your head because you don't know what other people think outside of reading comments. And, being 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, even up to 20, I was just reading comments and getting messages and, a couple people asking me for autographs. I was like, this feels great. I must be the shit. you know, and like I hated that side of me, especially looking back now. But yeah, I in a healthy but non-healthy way, I think that it poisoned me because it made me want to do it more. It made me want to be successful and get better at writing music and gain any type of fame or whatever you would call it. And it made me obsessed. And the more people that liked me, the more I wanted to go deeper. And it probably wasn't good for that age, but it also brought me to where I'm at now. And, you know, I've been able to do it for 10 years now, and to be able to think that maybe I've gotten to the point where I used to think I was. When I was a teenager and I used to think that my vocals were good, listening to those albums, I don't think so anymore. You know, like I was just like, man, I could hear a little voice crack here, I could hear a little voice thing here. Why did I write it that way? And now, you know, I'm starting to get more comfortable with my writing, and not in an egotistical way, but like in a way that I'm confident, you know, like I know that like I'm making, you know, somewhat wise decisions with my writing. And it feels good to get here because I know young me, if I got to hear some of my songs, I'd be like, that's me. Woo! You know, like I know that, but like hearing the old songs, I don't feel that way. And I feel like all artists go through that, you know, not all artists are going to like their own, you know, their
I know a
original
lot of
music,
artists that
you know.
won't listen to their own shit. Like they think that that's weird, listening and like bumping your own music, like being excited about it like that.
I like to bump it in ways of showing people new stuff, or when it's a new song, I'll listen to it a lot. But I get over my own music quickly because I over listen to it. You know, when it's a new song, it's like my only thing that I'm working on. And I'll have like a disc burned with the one song in my stereo, and you know, I'll just be driving around, you know, wherever I'm at, hearing the one song that I'm currently working on. And I just listen to nothing but it, and then once it's out, I barely listen to it ever again. And I'll go back and listen to them, but I'm always just listening to what I'm working on. So I kind of go back and forth with listening to your own stuff. But I love showing people new stuff. You know, like if you guys were here, I'd show you the whole fucking Haskin EP on accident. You know, I'd be like, hey, check this song out. Well, maybe you should hear this part too. And I'm like, fuck, I'm showing the whole goddamn EP right now. But yeah, I have a problem with spoiling my own surprises, but I think that I've done pretty good with this Haskin EP because I haven't shown anything of it really. So besides the clips I showed you guys earlier.
So we haven't really explained like how busy you are, Justin. So you said you're in 4 projects, right?
Yes.
Now, so far I count 3. All right, we got Haskin, Lost Conduit, and Desolist.
Yeah, and then I have been hired for another project that's already done, called Black Spire. One of my friends, Ashley, writes all the instrumentals. It's another Lost Conduit thing where it's just an instrumentalist and me being vocalist
Okay.
for hire. And so I started putting myself out around June or July of 2019 as a vocalist for hire. I got laid off work because I've worked for my mom for 10 years, and I've always been a delivery person. I just want to drive, and that's basically it. I don't want to have
Oh
to
my God.
talk to
Oh my
people.
god.
Story of my
Yeah,
life.
so I know I hear all the people that have to work at, you know, like a Walmart or, you know, anything where you have to just deal with people drives them crazy. And I just get to knock on someone's door, have a 10-second conversation, and it's over. So I always liked being a delivery person, and I got laid off. And I've always been able to juggle Desolist or Before You Fall back in the day with my job working for my mom. And you know, I lived with my parents, and I would make just enough money to, you know, give them a few $100 for rent every month or whatever. But in June or July, whenever it was, I'd gotten laid off, and I was like, I don't want to get a big boy job yet, even though I'm 27. I did, or 26, I should say, almost 27 at the time. I still didn't want to have to get a job that was out of the family. You know, I was really privileged to work for my family for 10 years, and you know, my mom was my boss. You know, like it was very easy. You know, like we had way too long of lunch breaks. You know, anything that that was, what you guys probably deal with, or anyone else that, works in retail or anything. Like, you have a very specific time frame that you would have for lunch, and you'd be getting back to it. We would just sit and watch YouTube videos, and, I'd show her music I'm working on. And I got my mom pretty deep into what I've been doing as well, because I've got very supportive parents, and I got her into bands of our scene, maybe not like the deathcore stuff that I make now, but, like the Escape the Fates and, all the bands that are in between. My mom became a fan, and, she was coming out to shows with me. She was coming to all the concerts that I play to support. She came to my Warped Tour performance, like she's gotten to do a lot of things, that was very supportive of my whole entire career. So when I got laid off, I was pretty butthurt because I was not angry at her, but I was like, man, now I gotta actually have to do shit. Like I don't make enough money in the music scene to be able to pay big boy rent. Like if you're living with your family and you give them a couple $100 a month, that's whatever. But if you're moved out and you have an apartment and you have a girlfriend and you gotta fucking pay your own bills and shit, like I didn't make that money. I made money to live with my family and give them some. So I just, while I had the opportunity, I started just putting myself out as a vocalist for hire. And Drew from Lost Conduit hit me up, and we hadn't even talked about prices, like of what I would charge per song. And he just hit me up saying, I want you to be the vocalist of my album. And I was like, okay, I like the way this sounds. And he sent me a song or two instrumentally with that message. So I hadn't ever heard of this guy before. I hadn't even had the luxury of reading his paragraph and replying first. His paragraph had a song. So before I had ever even replied to the guy, I listened to the song. I was like, shit, this is actually good music. It's not like, just a breakdown, like it actually had beautiful synths and like well-written guitars. And I was like, this is actually a band that I would really enjoy being a vocalist of, especially if I'm paid for it. So he started paying me per song, and I did that whole album and finished it today. And then Black Spire, I was hired by Ashley, and we did the same thing, paid me per song, and we did a 7-song EP. Maybe it's 6 with an intro that I'm not on, maybe 7. I don't really know. But I did close to 10 songs with Lost Conduit. I did 6 or 7 with Black Spire. Desolist just got back in the studio this month, actually, and we haven't released anything since 2018. So we were riding the wave of the These Demons album that we had put out, and now we're
Which
starting.
Is a great album.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We worked very hard on it for a very long time. So we're pretty much done with that wave. Our social media is kind of dipping down, and it's time to start releasing some new shit to keep everyone interested. And we got 2 songs that we had recently recorded with 2 different producers, and they sound great. I don't know what we're going to do because we don't want to have the different producers and different production on our songs. We want everything to kind of sound like it goes together. So we may record whatever other song that we recorded with the producer we're not using with the new producer, or vice versa. But both songs are fucking great. And then I'm finishing the 5-song Haskin EP. So 4 projects. And since June or July, when I had started putting myself out as a vocalist for hire, I'm probably at like 20 something songs. So I've worked
keeping yourself busy,
keeping myself very busy. And the cool thing is, almost none of it's out. Lost Conduit, I think, has 5 songs out. Black Spire has not released 1 song. Haskin hasn't released 1 song, and Desolist hasn't released any of our new songs.
The real fun has yet to come.
Yeah, I have like 15, 16, 17 songs that no one's heard before, not even like clips outside of, just like close friends that have come over and me accidentally showed them the whole EP, like I was saying earlier. Like, besides
check
some
out this
close
next one.
friends. Yeah, no, dude, I'm bad with it, man.
Guilty
like anybody can do that to me. Also, like it doesn't have to be a friend. Like if you're out at a show and we're just bullshitting, you could probably get new music out of me. I'm not sending it to you, but you could probably get me to play some shit for you just out of excitement. So I've worked very hard over the last almost year now, last 10 months or so, and almost none of it's released. So I'm really excited that it's all going to come out. And I think I've taken a different direction in the way that I write too. I started writing this way a little bit in the Desolist album, but I became very rhymey. And I don't know if that's because I'm doing the rap stuff now,
That's
but
probably why. If I
but
had
I
to
think
take a
I
guess.
think I started doing it right before then. So I think I just found my little niche that I wanted to, and obviously tons of writers, use rhymes, but a lot of deathcore is like long words, like big, like words a lot of times that you don't know what it means, but there's too many people that will pick apart lyrics so much that if you use a word that you didn't like know the definition correctly or whatever, people will eat at you for it. That's what deathcore is to me, like especially like the big deathcore names, like when CJ was in Lorna Shore, and like Dickie Allen, he uses words that I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about right now? Like super long words that are like 5, 6 different syllables that I've
I
never
still to
learned
this
the
day don't
definition.
even know what the palpable leprosy even means.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly what
I
I'm
don't
talking
care.
about.
exactly.
Like they and it's beautiful, and I know that they do it right and they do it very intelligently. And I'm not someone that wants to go read a dictionary. I like learning new words, but like I'm not somebody that's like, man, I need to write new music. I need to come up with new words. I
Yeah.
need to learn things that people will be impressed by. Like I haven't
What you
been
got to
like
do is
that.
you got to date a nurse who knows all the sciencey terms so you can
My
get all those words
girlfriend's a
out of her.
phlebotomist, dude. She pretty much
Okay,
is a
what
nurse.
what even is a phlebotomist?
Somebody that takes people's blood.
That's called a phlebotomist.
Yes, I think. Don't make me second guess myself on air.
I, you know,
Pretty sure that's how
I
you pronounce it. But yeah,
I
it
really don't know.
I love the people that are doing that in deathcore, the people that are very intelligent and are intelligent enough to use words that I don't know. Like fucking good on them. Like seriously, like cuz they're smart, they're someone that probably either paid attention in English class or are doing the research themselves to be able to, use these big words that I don't know. But I just realized that my little niche, the way that I like to write is like rhyming and weird cadences. Like, some of these, especially in the Haskin songs, no exaggeration, some of these songs probably have like 400 or 500 words. Cause it's all like like that for 3 or 4 minutes long. So like if you're looking at the lyrics,
Yep.
dude, it's like a novel. And I couldn't
Yeah.
do that shit like the way that the deathcore bands are doing it, with all these huge words. Like I would run out of creative juices, and like the way that it has worked for me is I start a line and I will get a word that I want to rhyme with maybe on the next line, or a bunch throughout the lines, and that will kind of direct me in the way that I write. And there are people out there that don't write like that at all, and I definitely started getting into it like right before this Haskin EP happened, and made me realize that I could do it pretty good. So my lyric game, in my opinion, is the best it's ever been, and my vocals are the best it's ever been. And I'm trying to be a nicer person and not an egotistical teenager anymore. So I think that
All
it's
that
I
anger
think
management.
it is, yes, exactly. But I think that I'm finally getting to a point where I don't want to say peaking because I always want to get better, but I think that I'm the best that I've been yet, when it comes
Hmm.
to lyrics and vocals and mentality. I am very confident. I can still be egotistical in ways, but I will never be rude. Like if somebody appreciates what I do, I won't be somebody that won't give them the time of day. I will always want to talk to people that, appreciate what I do, and I don't ever want to be thought of as a rude person because I think that I'm good. A lot of the songs on the Haskin EP, besides the song about Calvin, is about how I'm the shit. It's literally like rapping flossing, like all the rappers that literally just talk about how good they are. I kind of do that. And I do it in a way that some of these songs I go back and forth on what I'm even talking about. Like I'll be talking about how I'm so good, and then a couple lines later I'll be talking about that I don't think that I'm good enough. And it's like almost like view of being an artist, of thinking like this is the best song I've ever written, and then you analyze it a year or two later and you're like, man, it wasn't even that good, so like it's just my interpretation of somebody that is going through being egotistical and confident, and then also having moments where you're really low and you don't think that you're very good at all. But there's definitely a lot of egotistical lyrics on here. There's definitely things that I say that are gonna bother people and people will disagree with. But like I like it. And like I guarantee there's going to be people out there that like this project and are
I
going to
think there's a
start.
place out there for people for this.
Yeah, exactly. And like
There is.
so much rap is about how good you are, and I don't want to follow that because I'm doing a rap project. It's how I felt since I was young. Like I was telling you guys, when I first started playing Warped Tour, right when I first started playing shows, I thought that I was going to be a teenage rock star. I thought that I was that good, and it never happened for me. And I just kept working my ass off, and still hasn't happened for me. So some of these lyrics, I talk about how I think that I deserve a certain point in my music career where I'll succeed, and I don't shy away from that. And then there's times where I agree with why I haven't had the success that I want. So I have a lot of very interesting views on the lyric writing of this EP, but I'm
I
happy
think
with.
that just about every human being that walks this planet is a massive hypocrite in their own way. And I think that just adds another layer of flavor to, the type of person that people are. What makes them most interesting is the ways that they can be a hypocrite, I think.
Yeah.
So I definitely can relate to that.
Do you guys want to hear some lyrics?
I mean, I'm not gonna say no.
I'll read you guys some lyrics, and I'm probably gonna have to say it in like the patterns or the way that I say it for it to
Kyle, can you
be.
drop a beat?
You got this. Boots, boots, cats, boots,
All
boots and boots
right,
and
I
cats,
guess here we go.
boots and cats. No,
Yeah,
this is
boots
what I'm
and
looking
cats
for.
and boots and cats, and you got
Um,
it.
some of these have a lot of really fun rhymes. Oh, whoa, 10 years ago, I started the show, but now I gotta reload. Gotta restart, needed recharge, felt between bars, now I see smart, removed a poison dart from my heart. Bam, son. But I was having a lot of fun with a lot of the rhymes that I've been doing on like that one has like 4 or 5 bars on it or whatever, and there's probably 10 rhyming words. So like I've gotten like stuck into wanting to rhyme because like man, it's so much fun. Especially
So
when you get something that like you think it sounds cool and then the words are cool and you know that you wrote it with some type of intelligence.
right. So who have you been listening to lately?
Oh my God.
I
No
asked
one.
Kyle's question.
Yeah.
Um I right when this project had started, the ending of last year, I was listening to NF a lot. I don't know if you guys listen to any rap.
We've It's funny
Emo
because
rap
we've been
is
getting
like a
really into emo rap lately.
Because I don't listen to rap. Like I said, I don't really listen to a whole lot of stuff right now, anyways, because I only have time to listen to my own instrumentals. But stuff that I will listen to whenever I want to listen to stuff is NF really inspired this project. I did a cover of The Search, which is one of his big songs that came out this last year, and I obsessed over the song. And it was one of those songs that has like really fast vocal patterns, and like it's one of those things that is fun once you like learn all the words, even if you're just singing it to yourself in the car. Just like when you get every word right, and you're just like, oh, I know this song like the back of my hand. I started loving that song for it, and he was a pretty new artist to me, and I had done a cover, and I
We
got
talked about that cover on the show. I don't remember what episode it was, but we did talk about that.
my cover.
Yeah, I remember specifically saying, "Damn, I'm so much better than this." No, I'm just kidding. But I was so stoked when I heard that because first of all, we were all of us on the podcast at the time. We had Matt, who was kind of our pop culture expert. He was more into EDM, so he brought that angle to the show, which was great at the time. And so one of the albums that he really wanted to talk about was that album by NF, and we were all pretty hyped on it. I don't know about you, Kyle. I don't remember if you were or not,
I
but
mean, I was, but it wasn't like I wasn't
like
like getting into
Matt was
emo
listening
rap
to it
like I
every
am
day, though.
now.
I'll say that
Yeah.
much. He was listening to it every day. And then I found your cover. I think we talked about it like the next episode after we all kind of reviewed the album.
Don't ask us what episode, because
I couldn't fucking tell you.
I think that was actually the first thing that I had tracked from home, because I had gotten this microphone set up. That was like a big point of when I started putting myself out as a vocalist for hire. Once I got this set up, and I didn't have anything to track. I didn't have any new band material that I needed to record, and I just wanted to do something fun. And so I just started tracking the NF cover, and there's way too many layers in it. Looking back on it now, I would really like to have like a newer updated version, but I know I just don't have time to do it. But I really really had fun with that, and I just found the instrumental on YouTube. So like it was just my voice over the instrumental. There was no, Nate's vocals wasn't on it. It was literally just me. And I was like, man, this is really fun. And so I kind of wanted to try it on my own, and that was when I downloaded that free beat on YouTube that wasn't the NF cover at all. It was just like a random producer's beat, and did that, and that's like the pinned thing on my Haskin page right now until I release NuMusick. And yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that cover, and that was like one of the first things that I was like, you know what? Should I do this? Like, should I like try and do this as a project? And I also did a cover that I can't tell you guys about because I'm going to release it with my EP. I did it's like a funny song that's like from like 2005, probably maybe later, 2008, something like that. But it's not Narcine at all. But it was just one of those viral what.
So I've been kind of like joking to myself that I was gonna do a cover of No Hands. From that, I don't know if you're familiar with that song from that time period. But anyway, I totally I get where you're coming from. I was gonna ask if that was gonna be the song or not, just because I was going to do that.
And I was scared the second you said this, did that. I was like, please don't guess it. But no, there's a funny song. There's a funny song from back then, and I found the original beat to it as well, and it's very Haskin style. It's basically just like a rap beat, very generic rap beat, and vocals on it. And I had found the instrumental version without the vocals on it, and so I did a cover of it, and I did it back in like June or July, and here we are. It's almost May, so it's almost been a year since I've done it.
How can you must have an incredible amount of patience to be able to sit on songs for that long, because I can't.
Well, it was, I mean, maybe I thought I was going to release it, but it was more right when I got the studio set up that I was just like, I just want to track things. I want to get better at vocals, and like recording in front of a producer, I wouldn't think outside the box. I wouldn't do things that I would be nervous at fucking up, because you have all this pressure of everyone looking at you. So I would just stick to my bread and butter, and I learned a lot more when I was tracking by myself. I learned different techniques and different voices, and I got a lot better at writing since doing it from my home, because I don't have the pressure of like, we're on the clock. It's like, I don't have like a producer looking at me like, all right, you need to finish this right now. I could finish it whenever I want, and if I don't like that vocal take, I'll redo it. So like, I had this opportunity to be able to redo things all the time, and I just wanted to track something. Did this funny cover, and yeah, it's almost been a year, and it is still the funniest fucking shit to me. I listened to it yesterday, and I hadn't listened to it in a while. Like, since it's so old, there's a couple times where it's been a couple months since I've listened to it, and I was just walking like throughout my girlfriend's apartment complex. I put it on my phone. I was just listening to it, and I was just like, this is gonna fucking be so popular when it drops, because I didn't try hard, and it's funny and fun. And those are the things that succeed the most, because I didn't think that I was going to release it. And I haven't yet, but I'm definitely gonna. But I know it's funny and good enough to release. And I know how the internet works, with like memes, and like how people, like, bands are resulting, especially local bands, they're starting to result to like sharing memes now, because it gets their post reach better on Facebook, so people find out more about their shit. So like,
It's funny you say
meme
that, because
stuff,
that's how we do it.
yeah, like exactly, yeah. Like, meme stuff is becoming like the way to get everyone's attention, and it's pretty much like a meme video cover. So I'm gonna shoot a music video for that cover as well as the single for the Haskin EP, and I'll probably put out the whole 5-song EP with the music video, and then a music video for the cover as well, probably pretty close together. And I want to try and do some more media. I want to do some more interviews like right around that time, because I'm gonna want to talk about this Haskin stuff for a million years. But
That's
yeah,
awesome. So can I
the cover is
ask a
fucking weird.
question really quick?
Never.
So, Kyle, feel free to chime in at any point, by the way.
He's
but
busy being Satan over there in his red.
Yeah.
he's just chilling. He's vibing.
And I'm almost out of beer, too, so I don't want to get up and be like, all right, see you later. I gotta get a beer.
I'm out.
So I kind of just chilling.
Well, get me one since you're gonna be getting up. I'm just kidding. So
Don't tempt me.
with the with the Haskin project, because I'm sure when you're writing music for any of the other bands that you've written for, you're writing it from the perspective that you're probably gonna have to get on stage and perform it. Are you doing the same? Are you taking that point of view, or that approach, I should say, into the Haskin project, or is that something that you're not as worried about getting on stage and doing and just having fun with it? Because that's
I want
kind
to
of
see
what
how
I've
it
been doing.
goes. I did not write this EP with the intention of being able to perform it. Like the second a line will end, there's no room for like a breath, and immediately another line will begin. Not every time, but a lot of these songs are that way. So I just wanted to write music the best that I could, and see if it even has potential with doing well. And if it does do well, I'm definitely going to go in that direction for newer stuff and be able to make sure that it's all performable. But some of these songs, nope. Super nope.
So
Yeah,
right now, I need you to cover Godzilla by Eminem. Right now.
I'm not kidding. I don't want to say it's that fast, but there's parts that are super long that I just go like crazy on, like that'll just be like vocal patterns for like a really long time, that's like basically impossible to do. And in rap, they have a lot of times they'll have like a hype man, and they'll do a good portion of the vocals as well. And I don't really agree with that, especially when like it's like a rapper that's doing it and not like a group project or whatever, when it's just like, even Eminem used to do it. Maybe he even still does. I've seen videos of him way back when he was younger, and he had another guy doing like half the vocals. And with it being Eminem and not Eminem plus that guy, I feel like that guy's position's like awkward or weird or something.
See, that's one of the things I love about the band Dropout Kings, and we hype the
I
shit out
played
of
with
these.
them. They're fucking
We hype the shit out
awesome.
of these guys all
We
the
we
time.
love them so
Yeah,
much.
we had Adam on the
dope.
show. What was that? A couple months ago.
Yeah,
I love
Adam
Right
is
before Glitch
amazing.
Gang came out. But
It's
yeah,
such a
dude,
good song,
great
dude. I love
guys.
that song.
Great
They're
guys.
they're an upcoming band that I think is taking it to the next level, because we played with them at Den of Sin in California, and I'd never heard of them before. And just during their sound check, I was like, "What are these guys about?" And then they played their first song, and I was like, "That's what these guys are about." That's fucking sick. I am super into it, and seeing their music video do well, especially on like social media, it's been really cool. I don't know them. I've never even talked to them, but we played a good show together where I don't I don't dislike bands that we play with, but a lot of times I'm like, they're good, but I'm like never like they're going to be the next big band or whatever, because they all sound pretty similar. And people may say the same thing about me. It's hard to tell when you're the one that makes the music. But people may say that we sound just like everyone else. I don't know. But like watching them, I'm like, all right, they're different. They are fucking sick too. And
They've
it
got
was like
something.
just yeah, exactly. They got something, and it was just different and sick enough that I was like, these guys have a very good chance of doing some big stuff.
Adam,
Can't we,
the person that we talked to, Adam, was the first person to ever on an interview.
Oh my god.
He tried to be nonchalant about it too, which was fucking amazing. But he was the first person to ever hit a bong, take a hit of a bong on the fucking interview.
Podcast.
Oh yeah.
He's the only one who's done it so far. I don't know. It was just so normal for him. He was just like, I'm just gonna hit this bong really quick. Hold
And the
on.
best part is because like when you pointed it out, Pat, I don't know if you noticed, but he got like super red and super embarrassed for a minute.
Wait, am I not? Should I not? I'm like, I don't care.
He's stuck. Did it already. That's funny.
Yeah.
Nah,
Yeah,
dude, if you wanted to
I've been
roll
a
up a
busy
blunt
bee.
on the show, I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
Whatever gets you talking, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol gets Kyle talking, so I let him drink all he wants.
If I were to have smoked, I'd probably stutter a lot and lose train of thought, and I can get nervous about things that you shouldn't get nervous about when I smoke. So like I
Like
just
you're
kind
breathing.
of am I breathing?
That's
That's
mine.
No,
me.
but like I've always been somebody that didn't want to smoke before shows. Definitely have done it, but there's been times where like I've realized something that I don't like about performing, especially being the vocalist, is the second you finish a song, the whole crowd is, staring at you, waiting for you to, either talk or say the next thing or that, starts the next song or whatever. And the
You can't just
Desolist
yell, "What
song,
the fuck are you looking at?"
I mean, you could
I mean,
yell,
you
"What the fuck is
could,
up?"
yeah.
or something, but like I just got to a point where like I hated the pressure of finishing a song, it being a hard song, being out of breath, and now there's, a couple hundred people just staring at you like, "Oh, now what next?" And you're just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
give me a second, bro." Like
Yeah.
it's like
I
hard
need
for me.
this water bottle right now.
Yeah, so I started getting like weird anxiety about talking between songs. And another thing about after Calvin had passed away, I hadn't played shows for 2 or 3 years, maybe even four or something like that. And I didn't remember how I was between songs. Like it was one of those things where I was like, I got to play shows again, and I haven't really thought about like what my position used to be. And I used to be, just like so on top of it in my mind that I would just vibe with whatever I'm given. And, now that I'm older and I've like taken a step back and took a couple of years off of music after Calvin passed, and, I started just growing up overall, I started getting that weird anxiety of like, man, I got to fucking talk between songs. And smoking did not help that. And I feel like I can handle it pretty well if I haven't smoked. So I've just kind of smoking's for after the show for Justin, and maybe not the rest of my band, but for me specifically, because I just like I would get weird anxiety, and like I would never be worried about the performance because I'm confident in my vocals and there's no weird awkward silence or awkwardness or anything about performing to me. But in between songs, I just didn't like that, and I've gotten over it, and just learned that I don't like smoking prior to playing shows. So
I feel like it would dry your throat out.
I shouldn't be saying this, but one of the first shows Desolist played, um, like I said, I kind of made a mental note that I didn't like to before shows, but we were playing a small show, and it was like we had already played our first one. We had gotten it out of our system. That worry of like, man, I haven't played shows in years type vibe. It was like, all right, I'm back into this. I can be fine. And my voice is like weirdly affected by smoking, especially if I were to like accidentally cough it out. I know that's with most people, I assume, but like we were smoking like 5 minutes before we went on, and I coughed a huge rip out, like choked on the smoke and everything type vibe. And I was like, oh no. I was
Did
like,
you have one
I
of those
got more.
waves where you realized exactly how high you were as you were already when you were on stage?
I don't think I cared about how high I was, but I think I cared more about like my voice. Like it gave me that like the old man, the weird
Yeah.
spot in your voice that you can't like grip right. Like your throat and your voice just aren't working together right. And I was like, oh
Exactly.
no, we're supposed to play.
Yeah.
I worked through it though, but I remember that worry of like I just fucked up. I
Yeah.
was like, because we were playing. I think we were opening the show, and our equipment was already set up, and we're hanging out outside. We're like, we could just walk on stage and turn our amps on and start playing, and that happened. And I'm like, oh no, we don't even have a setup. We're like good to go. So no more of that for me. I don't like that awkward anxiety pressure.
So Kyle, did you have any questions before we dive into Justin's little post?
Oh Jesus. I don't think so. I don't think so.
All
Anything
right, cool.
Mr. Satan wants to say? You're so red.
I know. You can start if I get a beer.
Kyle, can I just get you to say one thing for me really quick?
No.
Just say fuck bitches get paid.
It's not paid, it's get money, Pat.
That was no. That's how I used to get on stage. All right. I used to just yell that at the crowd every time.
There you go.
I wish that was a joke, but My guitarist put me up to it, and then I was doing that for every show that summer.
I just do the "How the fuck we doing?" or do one of those in a big, angry, loud stage.
Or you'd be like, "What the fuck's up, Denny's?"
Yes, dude, I love that video. That video is by far the best hardcore video that is on the internet.
Oh my god, we actually went over that whole situation of how he had to pay that whole venue.
I heard about that.
Billy Joe from Green Day donated more money than he needed to.
No way.
To the band.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what the name of the fucking band was, but Billy Joe dropped an amount of money donating towards the band, and
I think it was like $2,000.
The band already raised all the money they needed to with their GoFundMe, and so now they honestly playing that show was probably the most profitable show they've ever played as a hardcore band. If you don't include like merch and you just talk about how much
fucking love that shit. I just fucking love that shit. What the
Have you seen the whole video? There's a whole video. There's a full set.
Oh, I know there is. It's amazing.
I didn't know that. I had just seen that clip circulating so many times, and I Googled it once or YouTubed it, and there was a full set of it. I was like, bro, I'm watching it. I am watching it.
I am all about this.
Yeah.
All about this.
So there's another thing that we haven't mentioned, or I haven't mentioned. I don't even know if you guys know. I'm gonna be a dad.
Oh,
congratulations, dude!
Thank you. Isn't that fucking weird?
Before this, I was just kissing. Gave my son a kiss, and I said, "Listen, I'm gonna be out in about an hour or two."
Your dad too?
I've got a 2-year-old. He's gonna be 3 in June.
How is it?
It's fucking amazing. You're gonna love it.
Am I prepared?
No. The short answer is no. You're not prepared, but that's fine. No one is.
My girlfriend has a 7-year-old, and obviously,
I mean, honestly, if you can deal with how are you with him?
Good, yeah, and I've always liked kids.
That's all you need. That's literally all you. I mean, I'm not even a dad, but even I know. I've had a couple of girlfriends that have little guys, but as long as you're good with that, yeah, as long as you're good with that particular kid when you're with somebody, you're perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Our kid is due Thanksgiving Day as well. Like a day before or day after. Like Thanksgiving Day is the due date right now. So it's going to be, I told her right when we found out that she was pregnant, I told her, I was like, I really want to get the Haskin EP done and released and not be in the middle of trying to do something when we're about to have a kid. So I wanted to be able to, once we have a kid, just continue on with what I've already created instead of being have the pressure of nothing be finished and trying to fucking be a dad, be a stepdad to a 7-year-old, be in 4 different projects, work a job, so many things were going to be hard for me. So I told her, I was like, look, I'm going to spend my next paycheck or two on, paying Connor from Bro Job to get this Haskin EP done. So by the time a kid is here, I won't be in the middle of something. And if I want to do a single, it's not going to be hard. I want to just have everything done and out. And if people like it and are obsessed with it and, hating on it, I don't fucking care. I just wanted it to be able to be done. So if it does well, I can move forward and just be able to continue on with what I've created, because I know that
the music part be kind of passive at that time.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's not like, hey babe, can you be quiet while you're pushing? I'm trying to record the CP. Chill out.
Exactly. Yeah. So
hold on, let me get the microphone out. We have to hear the birth.
Yeah.
I need that first scream.
We don't want to hear that. Yeah. I'm sure the only scream is gonna be my girlfriend.
All right, so this is a fun little factoid about Jacoby. When he first came out, first of all, Britney Spears was playing. Also, I feel terrible that that's the song that I will always have stuck in my head, which is Tainted Love. But
I don't even remember which one that is. I'm sure I would recognize it.
Well, the Manson cover is the one that always comes to my mind. But he sounded like a duck when he came out. He sounded like he was just straight quacking.
Like a duck. I'm telling him that you said this.
It's on record. He's gonna hear it at some point.
It's on record.
And besides, I'm gonna tell him if Jen doesn't tell him first.
How long are your guys' episodes normally?
This isn't our longest interview, and it won't be by a long shot.
No.
Cool. That makes me feel
Trust
better.
me, it will
Because
not.
I like talking, and I haven't done an interview.
What the fuck are my
since-
neighbors doing? Motherfucker.
I was gonna ask you if you've ever been on a podcast before, or if you've
No,
been interviewed like
I've
this
never
before.
been in a podcast. I was streaming on Twitch a lot of the ending of last year. I was doing basically full-time vocals for all those projects, and I was streaming Twitch, and that was my life. I pretty much just got to sit at home and I wasn't working a job, so that whole time where I just got to work on music I call my music vacation, because I didn't have any other obligations. I was just playing video games, hanging out, smoking, just being kind of a lazy piece of shit, but I was being productive in our world. Like I have so much music that I don't even know what to fucking do with it right now, and that's not a bad thing. Like I've created a lot of things that I'm really happy with since June, and throughout that same time I was being a lazy piece of shit, and I was still paying for the things I needed to pay for. I was still, I wasn't being rude to anyone. Wasn't taking advantage of my family by not paying them rent or anything. I was still doing the things I needed to do, but I basically just got to be a screw off without having a 9 to 5 work. So
I feel like a lot of people don't recognize that that's kind of what's going on right now. If you don't have to work, you kind of just get to chill out and be home all the time.
Yeah, and I got that for like 8 months, 9 months. So it was, the thing that sucks is it's hard to even think of that, because it went by so quick, because I knew that I was going to need to get a job, but it was just going by so quick with vocal session, video games, playing on Twitch, and then just like immediately back to tracking another song tomorrow and just doing that and doing that, and fucking weeks would fly by, and next thing I know, like months would fly by. I'm like, shit. And I gotten paid pretty well for the Black Spire and Lost Conduit stuff. I had a couple $1,000s saved up, and I was just slowly eating it away on stupid shit like fast food. I was giving my family a couple $100 a month for rent, but for the most part, it was disappearing. And I was finishing projects, and I'd be like, all right, where's my next big chunk of money gonna come from? Like, I need to figure this shit out. So like I started finishing like the Black Spire EP, and like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel for the Lost Conduit album. I'm like, I need to get a job. And me and Whitney got together, my girlfriend, and she has a 7-year-old, like I said, and I moved into her apartment very quickly. And I didn't want to be the guy that was just trying to live off music and it not being enough. Like, trust me, if I was super successful and I was making the proper amount of money, I could do whatever I wanted. But like, I had 4 or 5, maybe $6 grand, just chilling, and it went away real quick over time with paying rent and just getting food every day. And I'm not much of a buyer. I mean, I've had this shirt for fucking years. Like, I'm one of those people that just like, I don't buy new shirts, I don't buy new shoes, I don't buy new things. But yeah, it slowly just disappeared, and I was just like, all right, time to get a job, especially with having a girlfriend that has a kid. So I started, working 6 weeks ago probably, and most of my paychecks have gone to the Haskin EP, and hopefully it will do well enough along with Lost Conduit and Black Spire and Desolist, and maybe one day I won't have to have a job again. But as of now, I am driving around in circles for EPs.
So before we get to the questions that were from your post on Facebook, I wanted to ask, what can you tell us about Black Spire that will kind of give us an idea of what to expect?
Um,
Because we
Black
know
Spire is
that
pretty
Lost
different.
Conduit is kind of like a prog gent meets death metal project.
Huh? It's
Desolist
nothing
is
like that.
nasty, stupidly hard, heavy deathcore.
Thank you. I like
And
it.
then the trap metal project known as Haskin.
Yes. Black Spire is another band. It's not like another like weird project like Haskin. It sounds just, like, I don't even know how to fucking describe it. There's so many songs on the EP that we did that don't sound like even the same band. Like, there's certain songs that Ashley would write that would be like really, really dark, and I would almost go to like a black metal sound. And then there's times where like there's beautiful synths and it seemed like there needed to be some like melody and stuff. So I even started doing some like sing scream vibe stuff. Let me see if I could try and pull something up for you.
Like shouty
Um,
type stuff.
yes, but also not yes. There were certain songs that like have like almost like I don't want to say like a Linkin Park or a Bring Me the Horizon vibe, but like kind of a mixture of that type of sing screamy stuff. Let me see if I could get into my other Dropbox because I have so many files. I don't know what to do with them besides have multiple Dropboxes. So yeah, I can show you guys a little bit of this. I hope that Ashley won't mind. I'll just show you like a short verse because I'm actually pretty stoked on it. Let me solo that bitch out. Yeah, I know I'm skipping through it. I don't want to play it. Ice cream. All right, here's a verse. There you go.
I can see what you're saying with the melody.
Yeah, so
I
I
dig
wanted
that.
to, and I'd wanted to do something like that for a long time, but my voice, like I have like really weird things that are about my voice that like I know I can do, but I know that it would be hard to perform correct in a live setting, and I like to be able to show everything that I can do, but I also don't want to write things that I'm not going to be able to do live if I ever will be performing live. But Black Spire and Lost Conduit, they're just basically solo projects of the instrumentalists plus me, and neither band have any plans to be playing live, especially Lost Conduit. Lost Conduit's writers on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast, so we've never even met before. So we're never gonna play. Ashley actually lives over here, and I think she mentioned that she wouldn't mind me playing a couple shows or something with her, but I don't know if that's something that's really going to happen. It might, but who knows? But these projects were more like kind of like how I'm going at the Haskin EP. Just like I can write really well, and that's what I'm going to stick to. I'm not going to be like trying to make sure it's all performable. So I kind of just went with whatever vibe I'm feeling and just tracked it and be happy with different sounding music that I have instead of thinking I need to get on stage and perform this at some point. So Black Spire kind of goes everywhere in the spectrum between like super heavy to that style that has like sing screamy, Bring Me the Horizon, Linkin Park, Architects type vocal vibes. But yeah, Black Spire is fun though. I had a lot of fun doing that EP, and Ashley's finishing up mixing it right now, and hopefully we'll be able to release something next couple months or something. I don't really know when anything's coming out, to be completely honest. Desolist is in the studio, and I don't want us to come back unless we shoot a music video. The virus shit's happening right now, so I don't know when we would shoot a music video. So I don't know
It's
when
gonna be tough.
Desolist. I know, so I don't know when Desolist is going to be coming back. Black Spire, I would like to come out with at least a lyric video to debut, and Ashley pays for anything that's extra because I don't want to be spending money that I made on these projects on the projects because no offense to them, but the only reasons I did them was because I wanted to make money. You know, I love the projects. It's not that I wouldn't have wanted to make that music, but I want to be making as much music with like Desolist or with Haskin that I can. And if I was going to spend more time writing, it would have been for those projects and not for these side projects. So like I only did them for money and to pay the bills. And, you know, when Ashley from Black Spire, you know, if she needed help to, you know, pay for a lyric video or a music video, if she ever does, I will have to sadly decline because it's just like, I don't want to have to, I didn't get $1 million for it and all that money is already spent and gone. So if I need to put money into a project that I was paid for, it kind of seems like it was somewhat a waste of time because I could have just spent more time on my own projects. So, it's kind of more up to Ashley when Black Spire debuts. I told her who does my lyric videos, and hopefully she'll be able to get one of those done so we can debut. Haskin, I'm waiting to shoot a music video, so I don't know the virus. And Lost Conduit's album just got finished today, so I think Lost Conduit's still going to be the next stuff that comes out. I think our album will probably come out before the Haskin EP debuts or Desolist comes out or Black Spire or anything. So it's going to be weird, but by the ending of the year, I think every song I've written will be out outside of, stuff that I'm writing from here on. So I think the Haskin EP will be out, the whole Black Spire EP will be out, the Lost Conduit album will be out, and Desolist will be making new music. So lots of new shit. If you like the stuff that I make, I'm going to be releasing literally like another 15 or 20 songs this year. So it's got to be fun. I'm really excited.
Going to be going into hardcore promotion mode at that point.
Yeah, right. Seriously. Especially when Haskin drops.
So I've got the questions pulled up here. Kyle, are you ready for this? All right. So I will say we kind of answered most of these questions already.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was planned, like that, if that was something you had in the back of your head or not, but most of these questions have been unintentionally answered.
Especially the key things that you've learned about making music and like other stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure I can elaborate on some things though a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Somebody specific asked.
I was going to start off with the first question right at the top.
All right.
Did you start off being able to do vocals fairly well as a natural talent that you were able to hone more over the years, or did you start off horribly and just push yourself to learn more?
Kind of in between. I had a sound that was like mediocre, but I wasn't struggling super bad when I was doing those YouTube covers when I had first started. Funny thing was, I first learned how to do like very super basic low screams, like growl-esque type vibes first. And I learned it to an Escape the Fate song, Dragging Dead Bodies in Blue Bags. I remember doing the ending. Like Ronnie would literally just like hold out low screams, saying the name of the song. And I remember trying to do it to that song before I had ever screamed before. And I remember being at my dad's house. I remember being in my room and wanting to try and get better. And the funny thing is, people like me most for the high scream stuff that I do now. And it was what I struggled with the most right at the beginning, because I just didn't know how to move, things around back there, and didn't know how to, elaborate on learning new things or like trying different tones. So I definitely had a long ways to go. I had basic screams, and I just worked hard on getting better over the last 12 or 13 years.
Well, we definitely already answered the how does the Desolist write question, right?
Our guitar player, Michael, he writes everything, is a basic skeleton of everything. He actually writes on Guitar Pro, which is interesting because there's no real guitar at first. It's all like, it almost sounds like video game guitar for anyone that has, like, it almost sounds like it's like 8-bit or whatever that's called. It literally just like bam, 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 bam. It just sounds like very cheesy.
That's just
generic.
how MIDI sounds. It sounds great. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
So,
personally,
he does...
I think that there needs to be more music released as MIDI so that we can first be able to do covers very effortlessly, but also because I just like how that shit sounds.
So yeah, Michael, our guitar player, does a MIDI version of everything, literally everything, and we'll pretty much take it to our drummer Mike, and Mike will spice up the drums and make it more him, and instrumentals are completely finished before I'm ever even involved. So I basically get, and a lot of times I don't even want to write music or write lyrics to it until we have a recorded version. So there has been times where I've written to MIDI before. I just don't like it. I can't vibe as well. And a lot of times I will just get such better ideas once the song is actually recorded with a producer and it sounds just big and fat. So a lot of times we just finish instrumentals with a producer first, and we just give it to me, and I literally will just put it on a CD and just listen to it. And I always write 2 instrumentals. I am not somebody that, just has a notebook and I'm just like writing in silence. I am constantly thinking about patterns and like vocal tones. Like a lot of times I'll be able to hear things on a very first listen Like I'll listen to a song and be like, oh, it'll be really good to do something right here, just like this tone and have patterns like this. And so I'll basically just write to finished instrumentals that Mike and Michael have finished and go from there. And now recorded on my own.
Woohoo! That's the smartest way to do it now.
It is.
Another Justin wants to know, what is the coolest experience that you've had with a fan?
Oh man, I went to a Warp Tour in 2016, 2017 or so. It was one of the first times I think that I was like truly trying to leave my house after Calvin had passed. Desolist was in the early stages, and I was just trying to get. I couldn't miss Warped. I had missed it the year before just because I just wasn't in a good mindset, and I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to see certain people that had hurt me too. Stupid ex-girlfriends. I just didn't want to have to deal with that, and I just kind of wanted to get away from it all and just take time for myself. And I finally decided to go out to Warp Tour, and an Instagram page that I had started at the time was doing really well. And I was having a lot of people talk to me that day about my music. And this one girl had me sign a brand new iPhone. And I felt really weird about that because I'm not extremely popular. And she just wanted me to Sharpie like straight up on the phone, not like on a phone case. And it didn't have like a bunch of scratches or dings. It was like a brand new iPhone from Apple. And she wanted me to sign the back of her phone. And before I did it, I looked at her again. I was like, "Are you sure?" She was like, "Yes." And I signed it, and I always thought that was crazy because they made me feel really good about my music career because they almost got like emotional. They really were excited to meet me, and that just it felt good because I've been there in so many different experiences where I've looked up to somebody and I got to finally meet them. And I don't know if they looked up to me or they just liked my stuff or they just wanted a random autograph because they knew who I was or I was someone that was important to them. But I've been on the other side of that before many times. And when the person is happy to meet you back, it feels good. And she was very, very friendly and just signing a fucking iPhone, bro. I was like, that's not like signing, a poster or signing, a concert ticket. She was like, sign the thing that I hold 24/7 and with a fucking Sharpie that's worth $1,000. I'm just like, I almost felt weird about it, but it was one of the good ones. We also played Before You Fall played Ace of Spades in Sacramento right when we released one of our more popular songs, "The Virus," and we dressed up all differently and kind of made our band look like we were like a group instead of everyone wearing different clothes. We all kind of dressed up the same, and we had a lot of people that were excited to meet us that night. And I think the dressing a certain way really helped because it made everyone recognize, oh, he was just on stage with that band, or he was just on stage with that band. Going up to all the different band members, and I met a lot of people that night and took a lot of pictures and signed a bunch of stuff. And those two stick out the most to me. Was probably the girl that I met at Warped Tour and then the big Ace of Spades show that we played where we were talking to fans all night. That was fun.
So I think this is probably my favorite question. What are the similarities between you and a T-Rex?
Oh, God damn it. Friends.
This sounds like an inside joke.
It kind of is. You're right. Who asked that? Haskin?
Michael Haskin.
That's my drummer. that's the drummer at Desolist. We all used to have an inside joke. I don't fucking know why, but they all told me that I look like a T-Rex because I'm really short, like super short. Like when I say I'm short, I don't mean I'm like 5'7" or 5'8". I'm 5'5", bros. I'm a little tiger.
I am taller than you. I'm 5'8",
not surprised.
5'9".
Everybody's taller than me. And I've got long arms. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but they said that I look like a T-Rex. And I don't know if it's because I don't fucking know. But it became it became a thing.
Next music video, there needs to be like whenever you're gonna do one of those tunnel highs, like those. You gotta make sure you.
I lose my.
We're gonna isolate
mind.
that clip right there. That's gonna be the thumbnail right there.
Hard pass.
So I mean, so another one which I found fucking hilarious, which you commented me third. Can I Touch Your Butt by Whitney Tarbox.
Tarbo, that's my girl.
I thought it was.
That's the girl.
That's my
I
girl.
thought it was.
Did you see what I commented back? Me third.
Yeah, that's why I said, which you commented me third, so.
Yeah,
I guess your drummer wants to also put a hand on your ass because he commented right after me second.
It's all yours, baby.
So I'm guessing you're friends with this guy, Alex Katarabek, however you say that name. I don't know. But on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, how would you rate your performance being my miniature friend?
5. Except you don't talk to me a whole lot anymore, Alex.
Oh!
Shots fired.
You guys want to hear how cool he thinks he is? I asked him if he wants to hear the Haskin EP. And he pretty much didn't give me an answer. So guess what I didn't do? Send him any of my fucking music. I'm just, like I explained earlier, I just want to show people shit. And I was like, because Alex owns a big YouTube channel called BVTV. And he has lots of subs and lots of people that pay attention to his like uploads. And he's uploaded music for me in the past. So I'm always excited to show him like what I'm up to. He kind of lives in the same area as me. So for years, I was showing him, Before You Fall songs that were unreleased and maybe Desolist songs. He doesn't really like heavy stuff. But yeah, I knew that he would think that this EP that I'm doing is very unique and original. So I was like, what's Alex think of this? And I asked him if he would be down to listen to it. And I think he said something like, is your penis featuring on it or something like that? I was like, I am no longer going to send you the songs. So,
Ever.
I would expect that kind of a
I give you a
response if you sent him like
5-star.
bro job songs.
I give you a 5-star, but at the same time, you didn't want to hear the music, so I give you a 1 star.
I give you a 1.
A 1.5. How about that? All right.
Jesus Christ.
There's one last. There's a couple more questions, but for the most part, we really have kind of answered most of them. What's your favorite song structures to implement? And then it says in parentheses, intro, verse, chorus, breakdown, verse, etc. Or do you just like to freeball it?
I don't really care, as long as it's structured nicely. I don't like things that just like transitions that don't make sense or anything. But I definitely go off a vibe. Like if something sounds wrong, my brain won't let it go, and a lot of times my brain will tell me that when I'm not paying attention. If I'm just focusing on a song, sometimes I won't notice it. But like if I'm texting on my phone and a song's playing in the background that I'm working on and something weird happens, my subconscious is normally what picks up on it the best instead of me like focusing. Because if I'm focused, I know what I already wrote, so I am anticipating the next part. I already know how it goes. So if I'm not paying attention to it, my subconscious will pick up things that are weird or things that I fucked up or whatever. So I kind of just go off a vibe. I definitely like things that are structured properly, but I'm not somebody that will think a song is bad if it has a different or unique structure or different than the norm, I guess. I definitely don't just go, intro, verse, chorus, breakdown, blah blah blah. But yeah, I like things that are structured out a little bit. Mainly vibe though. Do you have that long one too? Because I told him that I would make sure that long one got in here. Because he actually asked me that in October or November or something like that.
Yeah, you sent me one that was.
It was like in Messenger, and it was a whole.
There were a couple screenshots of it. Let me see. The other ones are kind of okay. So some of these screenshots are not from the post that you made specifically. It looks like because there's one that's for the likes of Dickie asking you, seeing as you've
Austin
had
Dick?
Releases.
My man. Oh my
fucking
God.
man. Okay, I'm gonna put out the weirdest flex that I can at this moment. One of my memes that I made was in one of their videos, and I am so happy about it. All right. It's not about me. It's not about me right now, but I just want to say it. Anyway,
Was it an Austin video or was it one of Jared's?
it was a Dickie Dines
Dickie Dines show.
episode. It was the meme. where the one guy is punching this one guy super hard in the face, and he's got like that super expression.
Mhm.
It goes, "My speakers," and then it's "Welcome to the new age."
Oh, the fucking Brand of Sacrifice. He, the vocalist of Brand of Sacrifice is on the Lost Conduit album as well. One thing before we keep going, um, if I don't think that it's spoiling it too much because they will have to watch this whole interview to find this little segment. But do you guys want to hear who all is on the Lost Conduit album?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Like I said, I hope that Drew from Lost Conduit won't get upset with me doing this, but you're gonna have to watch like an hour-long interview to even find this clip.
So if you've made it this far, you
yeah,
should
if you
be.
made it this far, you definitely get like a little present. And don't like share this on Facebook or anything because I probably should be keeping it quiet. But song one is
That's right, listeners.
Astral.
This is our little secret.
The track list isn't in order, right? So I shouldn't be saying song one is this, but the opening song for sure is Astral, which only features me. It's the only song that doesn't have a guest vocalist, which I think is pretty cool because we're opening the album with just my song. So like at least you can hear what we would sound like without a guest vocalist, and then the rest of the album all is guest vocalists. And then we got Ben Dewar from Shadow of Intent. We got we got Reese Peters from Babarusa. He used to be in A Night in Texas as well. The same song actually had C.J. McCreery, but after his whole thing went downhill, we decided it would be appropriate to take him off of the album. And to be completely honest, that may have been my decision, but I kind of feel upset that we did that because I know that song would have done well with CJ. So
It
it's one
is
of
what
those
it is, man.
things. It
Yeah.
is what it is. I think that we did the right decision by taking him off, but what can you do? There's Andrew Patterson from And Hell Followed With.
Our boy,
Our man
Andrew.
out there hustling, man. That guy's everywhere.
We got Kyle Anderson from Brand of Sacrifice, like I just said. We just released this next song, Animals. It's got Traders on it. It's got the Contortionist vocalist on it, and it's got Vulvodynias or Vulvodynia, however you say that.
Oh,
So
Vadnia.
it's got Tyler Shelton, it's got Johnathan Carpenter, and it's got Duncan Bentley. And then the next song has someone you guys talked about on this podcast earlier. It's got Luke Griffin from Acrania. It's got Greg Gilbert from Shrine of Malice, and it's got Luca
Nice.
Schmerler from Mental Cruelty.
Murmur.
So yeah, two
That's
of
a
those songs both have 3 vocalists each. Me included would be 4. So those 2 songs both have 4 vocalists each, which is pretty cool. And then so when we also just talked about the final song that I just finished today has Dan Watson from Enterprise Earth and Ex Infant Annihilator and Austin Dickey.
Oh my
So
god.
Austin,
I really want
the
Austin
boy.
Dickey and Jared Dines on the show. I really just want them. I just want to talk to them at this point.
the cool thing was Austin did probably one of the best vocal features on the album, and I was really impressed by
Austin's
it.
a beast.
And I've
Like,
always known that, but like he doesn't do a whole lot of writing. He does, For the Likes of You, their EP is out, and then Austin's
yeah.
done some side projects with Jared Dines. I forget I'm gonna butcher the name, so I don't even want to call it. I don't remember what it is off memory. It's like something I don't even want to try. But he did a heavy EP or maybe an album with Jared Dines, and he did writing for that. But I haven't heard a whole lot of his writing because he's more of a YouTuber,
Supposedly,
and
he's supposed to be doing a trap metal project as well.
Yeah.
There
I
was
actually
one song that we've heard by it so far, and I haven't found it on Spotify yet. I also haven't looked in a while.
The,
I was
the the only
actually
concern that we had was he needed to turn up the audio like a
The
lot.
vocals was
The
what needed to be
vocals
brought
needed to
up.
come up a lot.
really. I was actually just texting him before we did this podcast, like minutes before. But Austin murdered it. I think that Austin, out of all those famous guest vocalists, Austin's probably top 3 on the whole album with how well he not only performed but wrote. He wrote a part that I could tell he didn't spend 20 minutes on. He probably spent a good portion of time working on his part, and his vocals murdered it just like I knew he would, but the writing was what I was real impressed by him. But yeah, Austin did great. So 13 or 14 guest vocalists on that whole album. So I'm very
That's
very proud of
fucking
that.
badass. That
Yeah,
is
I'm very
fucking
proud of that
badass.
collab. And to remind you guys, this is a fucking band that I was hired for. You know, Drew had hit me up and said, I want you to be the vocalist of my album. And I'd never met Drew before. And now here we are 6 months later, maybe even probably longer, 9 months later. The album's done and there's fucking 13 or 14 popular vocalists on it. And I'm like, man, that wouldn't have happened if he didn't hit me up, didn't pay me well, and if I didn't put myself out there as a vocalist for hire. So a lot of people are finding out about me through Lost Conduit. So if you are
That's
one of those
good.
people, yeah, check out Desolist
more streams.
and Haskin and Black Spire and all my other projects I'm going on. We'll see how they all go.
Austin's question was, seeing as you've had releases on several different channels, what would you say has been your biggest platform for releases? YouTube, Spotify, website publishes, channel features, etc.
I don't really know. YouTube is where where my brain's at when it comes to promotion. Like I always, am excited about music videos and, things that aren't just the audio. Spotify done iffy on. YouTube, we did really good on our own channel, which is surprising, but I also was a social media freaking fanatic, man. I was like, after Calvin passed away and Desolist was starting, I had a big burst of inspiration. Like it's like now or never type vibe where I was just like, I gotta fucking do this for me and Calvin and make it, not just about me, but to make my career be something that I could bring Calvin's life along with me. Like I wanted it to be successful and be able to talk about me and Calvin's story and, be excited for that. So I've always, I don't know. I definitely got weird with social media, and I just became a freaking whore for it. And I made sure our YouTube did good, but without being the crazy social media person and it just relying on its own views. Probably other channels like Slam Worldwide or Chugcore or BBTV. The original Before You Fall music video that Calvin's actually in is on Brian Stars and has 500,000 views. And that's my most viewed thing, and it's on Brian Stars' channel. And, Brian Stars was kind of made out to be, a awkward person or a boring person, and people, stopped giving him a bunch of, credit and stuff, and he kind of fell off the face of the planet. But I don't have a problem with Brian, and Brian
I
uploaded.
hope he's doing well. I haven't heard anything about him in a while.
Yeah, he ran away from the internet, and he just kind of probably did what I did for a couple of years, and that's what he's still in the middle of. And he hasn't posted in a million years, but I thank him for hosting our music video, because at that time, Slam Worldwide and Chugcore, I'm sure maybe we're getting their start, but they weren't what they are now, and I wouldn't have had any kind of good views if it wasn't for Brian's page. So I would say different channels, but these days I'd probably say Slam Worldwide or Chugcore or even your own channel and just promote the shit out of it.
If you're listening right now and you aren't already subscribed to Slam Worldwide, first of all, what the fuck are you doing? And you like heavy music, like, first of all, what the fuck are you doing? Second of all, in the last week alone, I've had so many notifications from different posts from Slam Worldwide. Like, they are putting out music like a
lots of stuff
right
now.
Yeah. So you don't want to miss the good music that's coming out right now.
I feel like a lot of bands don't know what to do anymore. And, they're all seeing that it's all starting to go to Slam Worldwide. So I think the more that Slam uploads, the more they're going to get, because people are just like, well, if it's not on Slam Worldwide or it's not on, X YouTube channel,
XYZ.
They're just going to feel like it's not going to succeed the right way. So I think Slam Worldwide is going to be around for a minute.
Back in the day, I think getting my old song, Bath Salts, on Epic Breakdowns was a big deal for me. I remember, that was right around that time when that whole thing was a big deal. But Epic Breakdowns was a good gateway for us to getting any kind of traction on social media.
Yep.
So there's nothing wrong with going that route at all.
Yeah. I don't think so either. Anything that, like, if you don't get views, do what you can to get views. Don't be like controversial and just be fucking stupid and say, edgy things. I don't mean like that, but like if you can't get the views, don't be afraid to resort to bigger YouTube channels. Like, you don't own your stuff anymore, and that kind of sucks. That was why I wanted Desolist to release all on our channel, because, you know, if it ever had major success, it's not on, you know, like I
Someone
feel,
else's, yeah.
yeah, like that's one thing that sucks about the Brian Stars video that blew up. You know, it's got 500,000 views, but we don't own that video. If I wanted to change the thumbnail or change the title or change the description, I can't do it. You know,
Yeah.
like, you're just not in charge. And like, I definitely liked having Desolist release our own stuff on our own channel.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And I back to what I said earlier, we should try and find that long question. I don't know if I sent you it. Yeah, the one from Dustin or whatever.
I got it.
Cool.
Hey, this
I was
is.
gonna read it.
I got
Whoa!
you. Oh
Drop the
man,
phone.
my bad. My bad. All right, so this is kind of a touchy subject, so I totally get it if you're not comfortable with it. I'd love to hear you talk about continuing music and writing after losing Calvin. Is that the question you were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He was saying, I remember talking to you and how I lost my dad, and he was my bandmate, and it has been so fucking hard continuing music and playing music without being sad. I understand it's a super touchy subject, and I'm sorry if it brought up bad feelings. I've been coming up on a year anniversary of my dad's death, and it's fucking hard. Can't wait for the Q&A.
So that was actually for a Q&A that I was trying to do back in November. And I had posted that status saying looking for some fan questions for this interview. And he messaged me back and he was like, hey, would you still use the question that I asked you for your Q&A? Because the Q&A never happened. And yeah, this guy's been looking for this answer for a while. It's weird, man. You just got to do it for them. I think, you know, like, do it obviously for yourself, make it therapeutic for you and be able to feel good about it. But know that they wouldn't want you to stop, because, you know, Calvin and my friendship, you know, we didn't have anything but music, you know, like, we would play some video games here and there, you know, we'd sit around and smoke, but like, we didn't have other things. You know, what we talked about, what we did, what we planned to do was all for music. And if you and your dad was like that, you know, I know how weird it must feel, especially with it being your dad, because if your dad was your bandmate, not only is it weird to not play without him, but it was, you lost your dad as well. You know, like, I haven't been through that, and I could only imagine what that feels like, or not imagine. But, you know, I do know what it feels like to lose the person that I loved playing music with and loved creating it with. And, you know, doing the Calvin song, like I said earlier, was very therapeutic for Desolist, but the one for Haskin, it seems a lot more deep and a lot more detailed, and I'm probably not going to stop writing about him. So if you haven't, you know, write songs about your dad, write songs for your dad, make it feel like he's still involved in the music that you create, because that's when it starts to feel good again. You know, like, if you're just writing for yourself, you know, there may not be anything wrong with that, but you may also feel like there's something missing, like playing it with your dad or writing it with your dad. And if you do it for them, especially if you can like fully finish songs on your own, it feels really good. You know, it feels like you did it together or something. You know, like listening to the finished version of the new Haskin song that I did for Calvin, like, that feels like, you know, I got what I wanted to get out. I explained what I wanted to explain about the situation and my love for our friendship. And, you know, I think it's a really good song. And if you're somebody that can't finish songs on your own because you know, relied on that other person, maybe try in their honor and just, you know, try and learn new things that you would have done with your dad. I know that it's hard to relate because, you know, my best friend wasn't my dad, and your dad wasn't, you know, a friend that's your age that, you know, you can relate with other than it being your parent. But yeah, I can't imagine losing my dad, and, you know, I don't want to have to lose anyone in my family. But learning how to write music and perform without Calvin wasn't easy, but I needed to, because that was all that we had. I mean, I got this on my chest. This is what we live for. That was Before You Fall lyrics, and it was just about our love for music, and like, we love to play it on stage, and like, music was what we lived for, you know. And that was something that I thought was deep enough to me to get it on my chest. And my love for music and performing was that important to me. So, losing the person that I had done it all with, like it's interesting to look back because I got this tattoo far before Calvin died. I got a tattoo of Calvin's face on me, like I've pretty much, I'm like a human canvas for my music career. I got eyeballs right here, and those are supposed to be my listeners looking at me, like people that are watching me and watching me perform. I got a microphone on my arm, like I just got all music related tattoos, and the "this is what we live for" thing. It was just, we just love to perform and we live for it. So just try and do everything you can to make your dad proud. And if music was as important to you as it was me and Calvin, just find ways and try and make your dad proud.
Awesome. That was a great answer to that question. Do we have anything else, Kyle?
I don't think we have anything else.
Mr. Satan.
All right, chill out. No, I don't think
I'm gonna buy you a
anything
Mr.
else.
Satan T-shirt, like from Dragon Ball Z.
You should. It better
Mr.
be a
Satan,
red
man.
light forever, though. If you ever change the color, it just won't fit.
That's true.
He's been rocking that light since we got him the new setup.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long we've been going? Is there a number recording?
We're at
time.
2 hours and 10 minutes. This is one of our
2
longer
hours and 10
podcasts.
minutes?
Yeah, we've been
Yeah.
doing this 2 hours and 10
I
minutes. This is
think-
one of our
well,
longest episodes.
Wasn't it Party Cannon was 3
No,
hours?
Party Cannon is the longest and will always be the longest because I will never take 3 hours of anyone's time ever again. I won't do it. I felt bad afterwards, even though they were such chill dudes. Like I still felt bad afterwards that we were there for a little over 3 hours with them. And we're talking UK time, so it was super late.
Yeah, it was super
No,
stupid late.
I've been having a lot of fun though. I haven't done an interview since like 2013, 2014. I didn't do any interviews up until, Calvin had passed away, since like early before you fall. And then when Calvin passed away, I didn't want to talk to anyone about anything, and I didn't even want to talk on the topic of what actually happened to Calvin. So I haven't
Is
done
that
an
because
interview
nobody asked, or because you just didn't want to?
I didn't want to have to accept it. Like I don't know how I felt, man. It was really interesting. I wanted people to know that he didn't kill himself, for anyone that speculated that, but I also didn't want to accept the fact that someone else did it to him.
Mhm.
So I didn't know how to communicate.
Yeah, that's definitely like a touchy, like.
Yeah, it was weird because like I had no problems telling everyone about the stories that we had. I had no problem with telling him that he passed away and that he was hit by a train, but I didn't want to have to respond to people that were asking details, and I'm fine with it now. Like it's
you
fine
didn't
to
really
be,
want to like
but-
have to be like, because suicide is a very touchy subject, but it's more or less like what some people call the coward way out, but it's more or
not
less
him.
like, yeah. You didn't want to be like, oh, he was a coward, he committed suicide. No, that's not what happened. It was because he got, killed or something like that. Like,
It's something
it's
more tragic than that, even.
Yeah.
And it was just a weird time because my whole life revolved around just hanging out with him, and I didn't want it to just become about talking about what happened to him. And now there's, documentaries that are being played that are about, his death and other suspicious deaths. There's 10 deaths that have all happened close to the same area, and him being one of them. And yeah, it's weird. And I talk about that in some of these songs, about how it's a frustrating mystery and how, I want some kind of closure, but I also, if I got the closure and I found out every
You just
detail
don't,
that I've been
you
looking
want to
for.
know it, but you don't. It's basically
Exactly.
what that is.
And I wanted to talk about it, but I didn't want to. So that's kind of where I got, and I just didn't want to do a whole lot of interviews. And now that I'm doing 4 different projects right now, and I have a lot of music coming out, and I have whatever closure I feel like I needed to be able to communicate about Calvin better. I think it's time that I could finally start talking about things again. So this worked out really well with it being so long, because I wouldn't be able
I think
to
you
talk
cover a
about
lot of details in this. I think this will be a great way to answer any questions that anyone might have had about that time, because you cover so many details about that in this. You did a really good job of responding to that. So I personally want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to talk about that. That's a really hard thing to talk about for a lot of people, but also doing it on a recording. Thank you for giving us that. I feel like we have something, like we've developed a closer relationship because of that. So
Of course,
that's my first thank you. Also, thank you for taking the time to just be on this show with us, because without awesome guests like you, we don't get to keep putting up new great content for our viewers. So, before we wrap this up, do you have anybody you want to shout out, anybody you want a special thanks, or anything along those lines?
Well, thank you guys for having me. I appreciate that. Shout out to anyone that is supporter of Desolist or Lost Conduit, future supporter of Black Spire and Haskin, and even good old Before You Fall days. Anyone that's been following me for a long time. A couple of these songs on my EP are for those people. I even use those lyrics, like the people that have been around for 10 years. The song's for you. Like I say that along, certain lines and certain songs. Really appreciate all the support over the years. I know it hasn't been super massively successful, but it's been enough that it's kept me in this game for 10 years, and I still don't want to give up on it. And appreciate you guys for giving me that support, and you guys thinking I'm interesting enough to talk to, and let me be able to use your platform to talk about what I have going on and things that happened with Calvin and everything. I appreciate it.
This has been a great conversation, Justin. So I'm going to wrap things up. Guys, if you've made it this far, what do they need to do, Kyle?
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to get yelled at. I'm probably going to get a text after this, but fuck it.
Who cares?
Yeah. At this point, fuck it.
Fuck 'em.
If you're watching this on, I want you to follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching, like, comment, subscribe, do all that shout shit. Here we go.
Oh no, I'm scared.
And that bell button, you see that bell button down there next to the subscribe button? I want you to fucking kill it! Crowd kill the shit out of it.
Murder.
I want you to think of it as like the China right before a breakdown.
Oh, right,
Yes.
right when you hear a little Zill bell and it's quiet and you just hear the bell, you're just like, oh no. Nice. I like it. But I had a lot of fun, you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on.
No, absolutely. We're gonna have to do a follow-up at some point.
Yes, definitely.
You guys know what to do. Thanks again.
Once you guys hear the Haskin stuff, we'll do another one.
Oh, hell yes. In like 10 years when that comes out.
I know, right? It'll be just a couple months, hopefully. Probably I want to get it out by June or July, and we're almost in May, so probably just a month or two. We'll see.
Oh yes, new shit to add to my playlist.
Yes. If you guys are not following me either, I am at Justin Haskin on all the social medias. So I will be posting more little snippets of music I'm working on. So follow up, dogs.
There will be links in the description to where you can find his music, more of our shit, and so on and so forth. So you know what to do, guys. Thanks again for being fucking awesome. And we're going to hit them with a couple goodbyes. You ready? Goodbye. Goodbye. I love you.
How many are we doing?
I think that's it. That's enough.
One more.
But Kyle, you sounded like
Good boy.
I can only
when
be
we
so
get people
right.
in on our bullshit.
Fuck.
Oh
Okay.
God.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good one.
You too.